Top 10 African countries with the wealthiest people. Which countries in Africa have the highest concentration of wealthy people? Why do you even want to know? One reason is that the more people with high purchasing power in the country, the stronger the economic activities. In fact, the growth of an economy is evident in the rise of its middle class. More wealth could either mean more opportunities or, if in the hands of a few, as in most cases, a demonstration of wealth inequality. Since we are all about exploring opportunities, in today's video, we'll share with you the top 10 African countries with the wealthiest people. If you're new here, you're welcome. Consider subscribing to After School Africa to continue exploring opportunities. 10. Ivory Coast. The top 10 begins with the only West African francophone country on the list, Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast accounts for around 2,500 of Africa's millionaires. The country also has 100 multimillionaires whose fortunes are each worth more than $10 million and 2 centimillionaires. The high net worth individuals in Ivory Coast have a cumulative wealth of around $43 billion. In terms of wealth per capita, the country is also the 10th richest in Africa, having a wealth per capita of $1,780. For the last 5 years, Ivory Coast's growth rate has been among the highest in the world. The country's economy is heavily dependent on agriculture and related activities, which engage roughly 2/3 of the population. Ivory Coast is the world's largest producer and exporter of cocoa beans and a significant producer and exporter of coffee and palm oil. 9. Tanzania. Home to some of Africa's most majestic parks and its tallest mountain, Tanzania is the 9th country with the wealthiest people in Africa. The East African nation is home to 3,200 HNWIs who are worth over $1 million. The country also has 90 multimillionaires, 8 centimillionaires, and 1 billionaire. In total, the country's wealth amounts to $57 billion. On the wealth per capita rankings, it drops further down to the 12th position in Africa, with individual Tanzanian having an average of $990, demonstrating high level of wealth inequality. 8. Ethiopia. With around $57 billion in wealth held among 3,200 high net worth Ethiopians, the East African country earns 8th place on the list. There are 150 multimillionaires in Ethiopia and 4 people considered centimillionaires, worth more than $100 million. Although Ethiopia is often classified as a developing country, their wealthy populations live like Westerners. The country's wealth per capita is, however, lower than the continental average at a meager $650, demonstrating a high level of wealth inequality in the country. This places Ethiopia as the 17th wealthiest in Africa by average wealth. 7. Ghana. Ghana's economic growth has been one of the major African success stories in recent years, and the country is predicted to grow at around 7.6% in 2019. Wealthy Ghanaians have been enjoying the country's economic growth with around $56 billion shared among 2,900 high net worth individuals, including 120 multimillionaires owning more than $10 million in assets. Though the best part of Ghanaian business refuses to publicly declare their asset, it is assumed that the business sector is the largest contributor to Ghana's wealth base. The country, however, has the 8th highest wealth per capita on the continent, with the average wealth of the country's citizens being $2,030. 6. Angola. The former Portuguese colony is home to around 3,200 millionaires, 140 of them worth more than $10 million. The country also lays claim to Africa's richest woman, billionaire Isabel dos Santos, the oldest daughter of Angola's longtime former president, José Eduardo dos Santos. Dos Santos is reportedly worth around $2.7 billion, according to Forbes. Her wealth comes mostly from various investments in banks, telecom, and TV firms. She was the former head of Angola's oil firm called Sonangol. However, she's currently facing multiple cases of fraud and corrupt practices. The country has Africa's 7th highest wealth per capita, with citizens having an average of $2,310. 5. Kenya. The number of Kenyan centimillionaires has grown as economic growth in the country surpassed others in East African region. There are now 16 centimillionaires and 340 multimillionaires in the country. There are also around 8,600 high net worth individuals, each worth more than $1 million. In 2013, Kenya had only 8,400 millionaires. This number rose to 9,482 in 2018, representing a 13% increase. The country has Africa's 8th highest wealth per capita at $1,870. 4. Morocco. At least 3 billionaires live in Morocco, with 4,600 millionaires controlling around $114 billion in the North African country. Of those super rich individuals, 200 are worth more than $10 million each, and 20 have a fortune worth more than $100 million. The country is ranked 4th in Africa with the wealthiest people. Morocco is worth over $114 billion, making it the second wealthiest in the North African region after Egypt. The country's wealth per capita of $3,170 is the 5th highest in Africa. 3. Nigeria. Nigeria is home to the world's richest black man and Africa's richest, Aliko Dangote. However, Africa's most populous country is not home to the most millionaires on the continent. The West African country is 3rd on the list, with an estimated 9,900 super wealthy individuals residing in Nigeria. The oil-rich country has around 500 individuals worth more than $10 million, while 27 are worth more than $100 million. Nigeria is also home to 4 billionaires, including Dangote, whose wealth is estimated to be around $14 billion. Mike Adenuga is another well-known Nigerian billionaire thanks to his Globalcom company. Nigeria's Folorunsho Alakija is another well-known billionaire who, until recently, was Africa's richest woman. In terms of wealth per capita, Nigeria narrowly misses the top 10 with a wealth per capita of $1,170, another case of wealth inequality. The country has a total wealth of around $225 billion. 2. Egypt. Egypt is home to the most billionaires in Africa, with 6 Egyptians holding more than $1 billion in assets. The North African country has around 16,700 millionaires within its borders. Egypt also has amongst its wealthy elite 870 multimillionaires and 56 centimillionaires. The $303 billion economy is mostly driven by the gas, tourism, wholesale and retail trade, real estate and construction sectors. Egypt's wealth per capita is 6th highest at $3,100 per citizen. 1. South Africa. South Africa has the largest high net worth population in Africa, with 39,200 millionaires, making up 28% of the total 140,000 in Africa. South Africa is also home to 8 billionaires and 94 people who are worth more than $100 million. The majority of the wealthiest South Africans live in Johannesburg, Africa's economic heartbeat. Total wealth in the country is more than $649 billion, more than those of the next 2 countries, Egypt and Nigeria combined. South Africa's wealth per capita is also Africa's 2nd highest, with citizens' average wealth of $11,400. What are your thoughts about the wealth distribution in these countries? Please share them in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, thumb up and share it. If you are yet to subscribe to After School Africa, now is a good time to hit the subscribe button. Until next time, your success matters.